It's been a couple of weeks since routes were added into Pokémon GO, and I actually believe this system has a lot of potential. Of course, for the last several days, players have been showing their unhappiness towards routes, and it's because most of them believe it is in a beta state, and I do agree with them. But I do think there's a couple of ways that Niantic could improve routes in order to make them viable within the Pokémon GO community. In this video, I'm going to be sharing you 5 improvements that I would like to see be added to routes, and hopefully Niantic will take them into consideration. Alright, so with that said, let's jump right into it. And how's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day, and welcome to today's Pokémon GO video. Alright, so we need to talk about routes, because this is something that I really wanted to succeed in Pokémon GO, but as it currently stands, it is not built for success. I think there's 5 different ways that Niantic could improve routes to actually make it a main form of gameplay within Pokémon GO, but I really do hope they take these things into consideration, because when it comes to routes, it's currently missing the mark in terms of reaching its potential. Of course, a lot of this is based on my own personal experiences with routes, which is going to vary from player to player. So if you think there's certain things that could improve routes to make them a lot more appealing to the general public that I did not mention in this video, make sure you share them in the comment section down below. Alright, so with that said, let's talk about the first thing that I would like to see come to routes. One of the main issues with routes right now is collecting Zygarde cells. A lot of people are incredibly frustrated because collecting Zygarde cells is essential right now in order to get a perfect form Zygarde. And yeah, you need an absolute ton of these particular items, but getting them is incredibly difficult and a bit wonky. Basically, right now, in order to get Zygarde cells, you need to walk a route, and you need to get lucky. Like, while you're walking the route, you will see certain green flashes appear on that route, and you need to tap on them because that's how you collect Zygarde cells. The problem is that these Zygarde cells are incredibly difficult to see, and for a lot of players, they're getting them at the end of their route, which will actually despawn them. So, in my opinion, I think the best way that they can handle Zygarde cells is to have it as part of the rewards at the end of the route. Once you complete a route, you get a whole bunch of different rewards for completing it, and I think this is the perfect place to collect Zygarde cells. Rather than collecting them while you're walking, you should get them at the end of the route. I think that would be a much better system. That way, players are encouraged to walk the full route, because they have a chance of collecting Zygarde cells at the end of it. Compared to the system that we have right now, it's a lot less convoluted and a little bit more predictable, so players are going to feel less frustrated, and I just feel like this is a much better streamlined way of collecting Zygarde cells. Next, I think the second improvement that would make routes that much better is, of course, fixing the spawns that you get while you're walking the route. Specifically, I would like to see more rare spawns. I really feel like this is a huge opportunity for Niantic to bring in Pokemon that you would typically not see, and make it actually worthwhile to walk routes, kind of like how it is using the daily adventure incense. I think at the very least, they should add Pokemon that are not event spawns. So if you want to get Pokemon right now that you typically would not get, you could just simply walk a route and maybe you will hit it lucky. You could also tailor make routes based on the biomes that they are currently in. Like, for example, if you're walking a route that's in a grassy area, then you'll get a whole bunch of grass Pokemon. But if you're walking a route that's alongside a river or a lake, then you get a whole bunch of water spawns. I think there's a lot of things that Niantic could do when it comes to routes and their spawns, and I really feel like this is a missed opportunity. Seriously, this would be some of the most interesting forms of gameplay that, depending on the route that you're walking, you will get different spawns, and I think that would be really cool. Speaking of spawns, I think the third improvement would be, of course, Zygarde encounters. Much like how you get Galarian birds as a rare spawn when you use the daily adventure incense, why not be able to collect Zygarde from walking routes? Considering that routes was kind of promoted alongside Zygarde, I just feel like it thematically makes sense. Not only would this incentivize players to actually walk routes, but I really feel like it would be an interesting twist to collecting legendaries. It would be yet another neat form of pleasant surprises within Pokémon GO, and it would certainly promote routes to the general public. Next up, another improvement I would like to see is just more special tasks and mission-based gameplay with routes. Like, I think it would be really cool if you get increased rewards if you walk the route with certain tasks in mind. Like, if you spin every single Pokestop that touches that route, you get a bunch of bonus items at the end of the route. Or, let's say you have to catch a certain amount of Pokemon and you get bonus Stardust and experience. Maybe they could do something where you have to walk the route within a certain amount of time in order to collect better rewards. rewards. Whatever they could do, I just feel like there's just a lot more things that they need to add in order to make routes a lot more interesting, because as of right now, it's just walking along a path and collecting Pokemon along the way, but there's really nothing else for you to do. Again, this comes down to potential, because if they add some sort of interesting gameplay like this to routes, I think it could make them a lot more special. Maybe you can have different competitions where people who walk the route the fastest or people who have collected the most Pokemon along the same route will have certain kind of rankings, and based on those rankings, they get better rewards at the end of the week. Who knows what they could do, but there's just a lot of potential there that they're not tapping into. And then finally, this is probably the most important improvement and probably the most obvious, but they need to add more routes. Like, it's really difficult to find a route, and if you do find a route, it's probably something that's just all over the place. And you know, I really feel like the system as it currently stands right now, it just needs vast improvements. Like, if you're going to be able to create a route, you need to be able to promote the route in some way, like maybe you could post it on Campfire or something like that. Or maybe it's as simple as just speeding up the process for reviewing routes. Ever since routes came out, I was able to create 4 of them, and they were all under review for about a week, and they finally got approved. And I have to tell you, once they were added, certain areas around me felt a lot better because there's a route attached to them. But I really feel like for a lot of people around the world, they have no access to routes. So pretty much all of the improvements that I talked about in this video, it really all starts with this first one. They need to make sure there are routes everywhere, because this is a form of gameplay that is actually really cool and has a lot of potential, but it's being experienced by a minimal number of players, and that's something Niantic needs to change right away. There's a lot of different categories for routes right now that you could search for, and I really like the idea of there being official routes. Like, yeah, I think it's something Niantic should tap into. Like, maybe these are going to be specific to Pokemon Go Fest and different in-person events, but I think it would be really cool if they added permanent official routes to almost every major city. So at least there is one route that you can walk within every major city. That would be really cool. So yeah, there's a lot of potential with routes that hasn't been tapped into, and I really hope Niantic continues to make improvements on the system and not just ignore it and throw it by the wayside because it's not a system that ended up succeeding. There's a lot of things that they could do with routes to make Pokemon Go as a game that much better, but it's really going to be up to them on how much they develop the system. These 5 improvements that I listed in this video, it's just scratching the surface on what they could potentially do. So I'm really hoping that they're continuously thinking about it and iterating on it, because routes can be the next form of major gameplay within Pokemon Go. They just need to make sure they execute it the right way. And yeah, with all that said, that's going to be it for this video. I would love to know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about in the comment section down below. How would you improve routes, and what do you think Niantic needs to do? Definitely share those thoughts, and let's have a great discussion. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video, and thank you so much for making it this far. If you ended up enjoying this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and if it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button as well. And don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You, of course, make this channel content possible. If you want to be a supporter of my channel, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list, and I try to be active with all of them. So if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids or the friendship system, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. And of course, if you want to support my channel in a non-monetary way, then you can follow me on social media. I'm over on Instagram and Twitter at Jinsula, so you could always check me out there. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.